Tesla is officially amazing. If you purchased a Model Y, Model 3, Model S, or Model X in the last few years, it's now safer than it was when you bought it. Plus, other key takeaways from the Q2 earnings call. Let's take a look. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All, so it seemed to make sense to wear the Don't Mess with Tesla t-shirt today since the Q2 earnings call was out of Austin, Texas, so therefore just, trying to model that kind of thing. If you're interested in the shirt, actually, you can get it in the merch store, so check out the link in the description. I am going to be using just some cheats on notes. This is a relatively quick reaction. I'm not going to do a ton of editing because I kind of want to get it out relatively soon so you can get it relatively close to when the Q2 earnings call happened. That was just an hour or so ago as I am recording this. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the SafteyVision in just a little bit, but I want to get through a few other things first. First, I'm going to start with some of the key takeaways that are more financial. I don't know. I don't particularly care about that stuff. I care much more about the company than how it's doing every single quarter. But a lot of people care about this stuff, so I'm going to go over it just really quickly. The Q2 gap was 27.9%, which is actually relatively strong. And one of the things you're going to notice through here is the financials. Given how bad Q2 was with the Shanghai lockdown, the chip shortages, all sorts of other things going on, and factories ramping up, all of which puts downward pressure on margins, things actually were pretty darn good in Q2. So, who knows what the stock market will do? It'll probably tank tomorrow, but it should go up because it seems like they've actually kind of gotten a beat on what Wall Street's estimates were based on all of the bad news that had happened. Anyway, so the gap margin was 27.9%. The operating margin was 14.6%, which again is pretty good considering all of the bad stuff that happened in Q2. Also, really interestingly, Austin should be able to produce 1,000 4680 based Model Ys per week by the end of the year, which is on the order of 1 million batteries per week. I think that's how many 4680s it'll take, or someplace in that range. Anyway, and the other really cool part about this is that 4680 production in Texas should be bigger than Fremont by the end of the year as well, if I was understanding that correctly. So that's actually a pretty big deal. Also, I know a lot of people were talking about the Bitcoin impairment and how much that was going to bring things down because they have to declare a loss on Bitcoin because it was higher when they bought it, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, their impairment was only $106 million because they sold a bunch of it for fiat currency, which is just dollars or yuan or whatever it is, due to the fact that they didn't know how long Shanghai was going to be shut down. So they said they were just trying to get cash on hand to make it through if things went on for longer than they expected. So that's really interesting. Elon did specifically say that they're open to purchasing more Bitcoin. He said they just needed the money in an uncertain time in a fiat currency instead. And also he said Dogecoin is safe. They haven't sold any Dogecoin. So if you're holding that, or if you've been purchasing things on Tesla shop with Dogecoin, all is well, no worries. Another really amazing part of the earnings that actually came out before the call is that Tesla is projecting they're going to hit 2 million vehicles a year run rate before the end of 2022. Does not mean that they're going to produce 2 million vehicles in 2022. It just means by the end of 2022, all of their factories combined should be able to produce 2 million plus vehicles, which bodes really well for 2023, doesn't it? And also really interesting, Berlin and Austin are both slated to be greater than 250,000 units by the end of the year. So that would be annual production rate. So anyway, all of that is really, really good news. As expected, ramp inefficiencies in Texas and Berlin, basically it just means they're starting the factory up. It's going to weigh on margins throughout the rest of the year, but that is going to trend down according to Zach Kirkhorn as Berlin and Austin ramp up. In other words, every car that they sell reduces the amount of downward pressure they have on their margins. So that's all really good. Also, very interestingly, the energy portion of the business, which would be solar and batteries, had a record profit quarter and more solar than in years. If you don't know, they're still highly constrained by not only battery supply, but also chips, because a lot of the chips they use in their battery walls, and I think to some extent in solar, are also shared by their vehicles and stuff. And so obviously they're putting everything they can into the vehicles. So they're having to give short shrift to power walls and to solar roofs and things like that. So anyway, it's good to see them saying that they've actually had a good quarter in terms of solar, and I guess batteries hopefully will catch up eventually as well. And of course, the best news is that that Zach Kirkhorn said they are set up for a record-breaking second half of 2022, assuming there is no force majeure, as Elon Musk said, assuming there's no outside stuff that happens, like another lockdown or something. But anyway, it looks like quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2022 should be pretty darn good. All right, and on to the non-financial stuff. Cybertruck will start production mid-2023, so about a year from now. Again, this is stuff that we already knew about because they had already mentioned that, but it's good to hear Elon reiterate that that is when they're going to start that. Currently, they're in readiness mode. They're getting Cybertruck ready, and Cybertruck will be, according to Elon Musk, our best product yet and on a whole other level. That's what he said. And Elon followed that up by saying there will be new products, but they're not ready to announce that yet. So that, of course, begs the question, will they announce it at the annual shareholders meeting in a couple of weeks on August 4th, I think? I think that's the date anyway. I'm trying to remember that, but just a couple of weeks from now. So it might be interesting. That would seem to be a pretty decent place to announce a new product like that, like a robo-taxi or a Model 2 or whatever, Cybervan, who knows. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see when they decide to announce this new product, because it seemed like Elon was hinting that it was going to happen relatively soon. Elon also reiterated AI Day will be, quote, in a few months, which is a bit less specific than September 30th, which is what people had been told before. Still could be September 30th, but they could be a little bit loosey-goosey. It's kind of interesting and something we'll all have to keep an eye on, especially with Andrej Karpathy leaving and everything. As for Tesla's full self-driving beta, it should go to all US users by the end of 2022. So I assume that would mean if you have purchased full self-driving beta or you have the subscription or something like that, you don't have to have like the 99% driving score, all of that kind of stuff. So that's actually really good news. We had heard that before, but just really good to hear it reiterated again. And Elon Musk said, assuming regulatory approval, it would also go to Europe, quote, and other countries by the end of the year. That made me wonder if they're thinking about possibly doing it in China as well, since that would be the largest market outside the United States and Europe. I would imagine China would be the place where you'd want to have full self-driving. Plus, there's a lot of competition there right now. So that'll be really interesting to see if they try to release full self-driving beta in China. And finally, the coolest part of what Elon said in terms of what I thought, and that is Tesla's vision system for safety. Let's listen to what Elon had to say.
Our safety team also introduced a feature that tensions seatbelts if the vision system detects imminent collision, which has never been done before. So you can imagine that if you have a seatbelt that only tensions upon impact, you have very little time to tension the seatbelt. If you've got to be, the car has literally got to be crunching to trigger the seatbelt tensioner. But because we have vision, we can actually see that a collision is about to occur with 100% probability before it actually happens. And so we can tension the seatbelts, and we can even adjust the airbag deployment because we can see, not just feel. This is a fundamental safety advantage that Teslas are now able to offer. And this is also an over-the-air update. So this is something that will be in place in all cars that have at least AP3 hardware.
So that's pretty darn cool, right? So if you think about this, the vision system is always paying attention at somewhere around 35 frames per second or so, and it's always looking around to see what's going on. And so if it sees an imminent collision, it can pre-tension the seatbelts and potentially also adjust the airbag deployment speed and the ordering, so which order the airbags go off. And this can all happen in, like on the order of a second or so prior to the impact. This is like whole orders of magnitude longer than after a collision is detected, right? So if the car can only detect a collision as it starts to slow down violently, you're talking on the order of hundreds of milliseconds to react, tension seatbelts, deploy airbags, things like that. Whereas if you're talking about a second or more, you're talking about thousands of milliseconds to do this. So you've got, it's like worlds of time for computers. It can like relax and it can figure out everything to do. So that's a pretty amazing thing that the vision system enables Teslas to actually pre-tension and take measures to make the occupants even safer than they would be otherwise. So effectively, they can use the vision system to see into the future a little bit and see that an accident is coming. As for what models this works with, it works with anything with hardware 3 on it, and that should be models built post about 2019. So, or if it was retrofitted, if you bought a car in 2018 and retrofitted it with hardware 3. But anyway, you'll know if you purchased a car with hardware 3, you can't drive like full self-driving beta, and I think there's a lot of other restrictions if you don't have hardware 3. So you would probably know if you owned an earlier vehicle. But anyway, everything since that manufacture date is now enabled with that, and it all came via a magical over-the-air update. So it was just something you woke up with and your car was suddenly much safer than it was the day before. Elon didn't talk about this, but it's really important to think about how they can enable this kind of thing. Again, Tesla's collecting data all the time, and crashes, of course, are part of it. And even though crashes are very infrequent, they do happen. And so if you're driving billions of miles, you can collect a lot of crash data, and you can train the computer on that, and you can run simulations on that, and you can figure out how best to adjust for different types of collisions. And so that, I assume, is what they're doing. They're training their neural networks to get better at those specific instances. And even though they only happen very rarely, they happen enough with billions of miles being driven that Tesla can actually train on that and create a system that is much, much safer than just reacting to the car as the IMU detects collisions happening. So in effect, the Model Y that we purchased at the end of 2020 is now safer than when we bought it. And what other car manufacturer can say that? That is really cool. And then think about this one as a possibility as well. This is not anything Elon said or anything that was in the Q2 stuff, but it makes me think about this stuff. If the car can now see an imminent collision, there might be types of collisions it could actually avoid by taking rapid action. And of course, this could be trained on and simulated in just the same way that the other stuff was being done. And if it performs well enough, it could be released to the public as well. So one day soon, your Tesla could scoot over to the side to avoid a person coming up really fast and about to rear-end you. And again, that would just magically appear with an over-the-air update overnight. So again, a safe accident is an amazing thing, and that's wonderful, and kudos to Tesla for making that happen. But the potential via TeslaVision is to not even have an accident at all, and how amazing would that be? All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it fun and thought-provoking. If you did, please do like it so other people can find it, and of course consider subscribing for more of this kind of content. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. And if you want to join the team, just check out the link in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, success is a possible outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on and on. So check it out. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Thank you. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a solar roof, a Powerwall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.